This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trends in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Live with Judith Mancini. Today, we have a program on politics. It's that time of the year, and they're a necessary part of the Democratic Republic, but there is a lot going on today and a lot of nastiness. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Before I get into that, though, I just want to make a couple of comments here. You know, it's awfully hard for people who report the news or commentate on the news, for them all to be totally how do I want to say this? Not be biased in one way or the other as they're reporting, because everybody does have feelings and everybody has opinions. And some people study it and come out with wonderful, educated thoughts on it, and others just spew hate. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But what I want to say is, even the networks, you know, there's such an uproar over nighttime shows, late night comedy, and so many have been let go because they've said horrible things about our sitting President Trump and Republicans and conservatives, and they're just spewing hatred. So a lot of them have been suspended or taken off. Now I understand all of those late nights on the networks, those hosts are getting together to do a so-called comedy show where they will apparently do nothing but make fun of and criticize our sitting president. Well, let me remind you all that President Trump was duly elected, and so far he has ended 8 wars. He's coming back from Asia today after he's done another deal with President Xi of China. We need to show a little respect for the people that were duly voted into office. And I have to say, even on the conservative news sites and sometimes on the sites like Fox News, which says they're fair and balanced, and I think that's pretty much true. They show both sides of it. And some of them, like CNN, when I've tuned into them, and maybe it's the time I'm tuning into them, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But to me, CNN and MSNBC, they sit around a table and bash the administration. I don't know where that's getting people, except to vote with hatred, which is really a childish and dangerous thing to do. So today I've done a show on wisdom and wonder, and it's about politics and how to have a discourse without hating each other at the end of it. Let me remind you of what's going on, though, before we get started. This is the 30th day of the government shutdown. People are going to start starving to death. The food banks are already open. They're already being used. 42 million people are without a paycheck. 42 million people have their government benefits shut down. 42 million people encompass not only adults, but children, the old, the infirm, anybody who's been on a government substance check is not getting them today. There are other people that aren't getting them. We're trying to keep first responders in place, but our troops are not going to receive checks starting today, I believe. I could be wrong, so don't hold me to that fact. But that's what's going to happen. We need to keep our troops in place because even though President Trump has ended 8 wars, working on a 9th wonderful partnership with China now, we never know what's going to happen, okay? I think it's disgusting that people out there are calling Trump a fascist, a Nazi, a this, a that. I don't know what you're saying. The stock market is higher than it's ever been. Higher than it's ever been. The stock market is our chart of where we stand economically in the entire world. We are the richest country. We have everything anybody could want. If you want a job, you could go out and find one. Well, right now you can't because people have had to be laid off at every kind of business there is. Sometimes you can see on the internet the different industries where people are being laid off. Some fast food chains are laying so many people off that they're going to have to close, and that includes their franchisees. This is impacting everyone. It will soon be impacting hospitals, first responders, police. We don't know what it's going to impact, but it is totally foolish for a Congress that is sitting to continue to receive their paychecks when they're not doing a darn thing for us. These people in the Democrat Party don't give a shit about you, pardon my language. I'm sorry, and I'm talking about the people that sit in their seats, the Democrats that are in office and holding things. Why in California would you want to vote on a bill that allows the Democrats to redistrict, gerrymander the state of California when the Republicans already have fewer seats than the Democrats? This is not getting to be a good thing. They want you to vote yes on Proposition 50 that Newsom put out there. Now, look at Newsom's record. What did he do during COVID and the shutdowns? He didn't allow us to send our children to school. He put plastic up when they finally did open, plastic dividers so you couldn't sit next to your friend. He didn't allow people to go to church. So they went around him and they went into the parking lots and they sat in their cars so that they could worship God. What did he do for you? Not a darn thing. And yet, you know the old story. Where was he? He was at the French Laundry. And my husband and I have been there a couple of times, and it's a lovely, lovely restaurant, and it's terribly expensive. We reward ourselves when we do something good, so we go out for a really great dinner. But Newsom hasn't done anything good. And I urge you to vote no on Proposition 50. And when you're in that voting booth or you're sitting at your table having dinner and discussing it with somebody else, remember there is a train to nowhere that Newsom spent millions on trying to build and never completed it. Think of all the things he's done. He is only interested in one thing, and I just saw an interview with some other person in the media ask him a question if he's getting ready to run for president. Well, he couldn't say yes and he couldn't say no, but he says it's in his mind and he's considering it. My gosh, if he ever got near that seat, you out there would be in horrible shape. The man can't govern. He can't govern his own state. He's too concerned about slicking back his hair. He did one of the most disgusting displays of arrogance I've ever seen. When Trump was out of office or going someplace, I can't remember exact date, there was a clip of him on the media where some photographer caught him with his shirt on, his sleeves rolled up, his white shirt under his suit, with his suit coat thrown over his shoulder, walking into the Oval Office from the side door from the gardens. He was not invited. He just did it. The arrogance and the misgovernment of our state is wrong. So if you want your taxes to be raised, if you don't want any project to be completed, you want the streets to look like the beach towns that used to be beautiful, San Francisco, to have nothing but needles on the sidewalks, people living in the streets, go ahead. Keep him around. Vote for him to redistrict. I say no, and that's what he is trying to do. So vote no on Proposition 50. And now I won't talk about politics anymore like this. So the title of today's show is Wisdom and Wonder. Trying times need both. Excuse me. Politics are a necessary part of a democratic republic, but is it necessary to antagonize others about their thoughts and beliefs? Or can you discuss politics politely without being friends? Without losing friends. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm talking about. We don't want to lose our friends. So I'm going to give you some ideas of what you can do to politely discuss your differences in politics. Maybe it's not possible, but I'm certainly hoping that we can do it without anger and without the labels and without losing our sense of humor. We need to, these are conversations we used to have as we sat down around the dinner table, which doesn't happen very often anymore. And we used to have big, lovely family dinners and people sitting around it, aunts and uncles, cousins, grandmas and grandpas, all of those people, and we could discuss politics. I had an uncle who thought I was too outspoken as a college senior. Not a college senior, a high school senior. He would goad me into arguments about politics. And maybe that's where I got some of my political opinions of what I didn't want to be. I don't know. So I don't think anybody has that, or I should say some people still do that, but not a lot of people do. It seems like the generations growing up now in their mid-20s and all don't go home, or maybe it's because we're so scattered across the country where you run to a new state to follow your dreams of being in the media industry, or maybe you want to be in the publicity. Maybe you want to be more visible, or maybe you found out that in some of these great factories in the East and Midwest, maybe you want to be there where New Jersey is one of them, where they bottle our medications that we have to take. There's nothing you can't do in the United States. During a normal period, you could go out and find a job now. But because of this government shutdown, people are laying people off. They're walking into their office, no matter what level of business you're in. Secretaries, assistants, vice presidents, even presidents, and some of them are walking in and finding out that they don't have a job anymore. Now, I have a question. If things are shut down, these people that are getting laid off, you have a certain period of time you have to wait before you can file for unemployment. But where's the unemployment money going to come from if everything is shut down? I don't know. It's just craziness. Well, I think you can sit down and start discussing politics again. This is not even a midterm election. This election is for little bills, little problems we have, like the one we have in California, the redistricting. Some people are running for governor, those kind of things. We're not voting for president. We're not voting for, I don't know what's on the different ballots. This is big into the states. The states have a lot of different things on their ballots. So like our state has the Proposition 50 that I was talking about. Today, people are too quick to judge and too slow to listen. I think we can change that one conversation at a time. I think we can do it without anger. I think we can do it with respect and understanding of others. Behind every person is a story and the reason why they vote or the reason why they consider these different questions that we might be debating on upcoming ballots or what's going on. Of course, there's a lot of people who have different opinions on ICE. There's different considerations between people of what we should do with illegal aliens and what we should also do with the backlog of people who've already come into the United States years ago and have never in 14, 15, many years been able to become a citizen. There's a backlog of that. Definitely there's something, in my opinion, that needs to be done about immigration. We can't be having all these people just walking into our country. There's things that are bad, horrible, that happen when this happens. Children have disappeared. Families were broken up. All of these people came through in the Democrat administration. We had open borders and a lot of criminals came through, and a lot of the criminals are the people who deal in fentanyl and kill our children, our teenagers, even some adult people. It only takes a drop. Excuse me. It only takes a drop of fentanyl to kill you. It's not worth seeing if it's true. This is what happens. We need something to control the borders, and that's my opinion. It should be yours too. I picture life as being messy, surprising, and sometimes hard. Wisdom doesn't come from years of experience. It comes from living through the years and making mistakes and deciding to grow from them. You know, there's an old saying, if you get knocked down, jump back up and get right back in the fight. We earn that. We learn that. And we learn from our mistakes. Marcus Aurelius, remember that guy, maybe a philosopher? The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And I think that's very true. That's true not just in discussing politics, it's true in life itself. What if you're trying to start a new business or you want to change careers and you keep saying to yourself, I can't do it, it's impossible? What if you just want to change your position in an industry and you want to go to a different company, you need to know what you want, and you have to say to yourself, I can do it, I can do it. And you need to do it by acting on it, not just thinking about it. It's the same when you're talking politics. Do you even know what socialism is? Do you even know what communism is? Do you know how the Nazis came into power? Do you know that countries didn't want that? Do you know how many people they killed for no reason except their religion? In the world, there are lots of countries where there have been mass tragedies of people being killed because of their religion or their thoughts. It's gone on through the ages. You know, you can read history books and you'll see in Christian times how many people were killed when Jesus was born and before. I think everybody should start going back and looking at history and see how things were resolved or not resolved in good ways. You know, I often say when I'm talking about what are you going to do when you're in your 70s to stay active and have your mind working and all, and one of them is study history. And now is a perfect time. Look in New York. There is a person named Mandami who is running for mayor of New York City. Now, New York City is the hub of the economic world in the United States and also the world, the stock market. We have all sorts of companies listed on that. And what happens there is very important. Ask yourself if you want what he is calling himself, a socialist. He's not. He wants to take from the rich and give to the poor. Now, I'm all for having some parameters about rent. I don't think it's right to take advantage of people and raising rent continuously when the economy doesn't warrant it and the population doesn't warrant it. There's housing shortages everywhere. You can't ask people to put 10 people at a time into an apartment because the rent is so high. That doesn't work. It doesn't work if you have free buses everywhere. Now, there are some countries that have free buses that go all over, but I don't think they voted for them. They've just always had them from years ago. They have some in Zurich, which I was rather surprised to see. They have some in Mexico. Our bus fares are not very high, and I would hope that people would be able to pay for them or get a certain kind of pass where it will help you get to work. School buses in most areas of the United States, if there's a school bus, when we lived at Lake Tahoe, our kids rode the school bus to school and we didn't pay for it. The same thing was true when my children were in high school in Los Angeles. There was a bus available for my daughter, but not for my son, because their schools were in opposite places. My daughter went to school in Los Angeles. My son went to school in the Valley in Studio City for high school. So the one in the Valley is the one that didn't have the school bus because they didn't come over the hill into the Los Angeles basin. They stayed in the Valley. So I think that wisdom is knowing everything that is studied, and I don't think you can listen and learn from people's opinions, their opinions, which are opposite of yours unless you study everything about it. So if you just hate Trump, maybe you haven't studied what he has done for our country in the short time he's been in office. Maybe if you love Mandami in New York, you don't know what he's doing. If New York becomes a socialist city, it's really not what he's calling it, a democratic socialist. That's not true. Study it and use your wisdom to figure out what's going on there. And if you have friends or relatives, discuss it with them. And before the end of the election on, I believe it is November 4th, have a good discussion with your wisdom and your kindness and your openness to figuring out why this particular person thinks in the manner they do. And that you're not just going to question them, they're going to question you. So you better get your ducks in a row and be polite and not angry and not use different things like, you are wrong. Well, you could turn it around and be a little kinder and say, what I have researched says that this may not be true. I want you to look further into it before you make up your mind. Be calm and slow down so that we can live together in peace, basically. Albert Einstein on this question said, Albert Einstein once said, he who can no longer pause to wonder and stand wrapped in awe is as good as dead. His eyes are closed. Oh, Juan, I must not have done focus right. I'm sorry, this is dinging through. Okay, let me say that again. Albert Einstein once said, he who can no longer pause to wonder or question and stand wrapped in awe is as good as dead. His eyes are closed. He was talking about the soul, not just science. Of course, we all know who Albert Einstein is. He was talking about someone's soul. Wonder is like the childlike part of us that never fully opens or goes away, even as we get older. We must make it happen as we gasp at the sunset or tear up at a song, or laugh unexpectedly. That's wonderment. Every night I go out, my husband loves to sit outside as it gets later at night and the stars come up, and I always take a little walk out there because we live in the desert and they don't allow street lights. I didn't even realize it when we moved down here. I didn't know there was an ordinance or a law that says you can't turn on street lights or light up a building so much so that you can't see the night sky. And let me tell you, I can see Orion's Belt, the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper, all the other ones now. It's wondrous to me. So always wonder and study things, and that's part of growing older too. Keep yourself busy. Think of the things that you can wonder at as you're growing older and expand your horizons. I know wonder and wisdom isn't knowing all the answers. And that's something as you grow older, you learn, not because we slow down, but because we see more. We're more open to listening to people and hearing their side of it. Well, the power of wonder, I want to go back a little more on and just tell you one more quote about wonder. Not wondering about, but it is almost wondering about, but it's being awed, 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 awesome, what a wonder, that's awesome. Pay attention to the small, miraculous things that remind us that we are alive. The poet Mary Oliver wrote, "Instructions for living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it." Well, that's kind of the way I feel about stars. And to think that there are people like Elon Musk and others thinking about going and looking at planets and stars and the moon. It's a wondrous thing. Learn more about it. That's how I think you can balance your talks with people about politics. What about on the theme of space and stars? What about the things that President Trump has done about that? He started a whole new department for space, SpaceX. I think Elon Musk had something to do with naming it too, the Department of Space. Start your morning with gratitude, and that's particularly necessary before you go meet your friend for lunch. Ladies love to lunch. I love to lunch with ladies because I want to hear their opinions on other things. Maybe I'm wrong. I have Democrat friends. I don't tell them they're all wrong. I listen to their side. I don't want to lose them as a friend over politics, but guess what? I never cut one person off when they said that they didn't want Trump to be president. You know what happened to me? I lost a lot of friends because I was a staunch supporter of President Trump in 2016 when he became president. Well, before in the election. But I still am a staunch supporter of his. I lost my friends. One of them was a dear friend our children kind of grew up together when I moved to Beverly Hills with my two kids that were in elementary school, and so was my friends. Their kids were in elementary school, different schools. But we all belonged to one of the clubs at the beach that was a family gathering place for all of us. And they became very good friends, the children and us. Lo and behold, I also used her as a decorator for my house. And I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars with her. Now, I'm not trying to tell you what I had and what I didn't have. I had my own business back then, and I was very fortunate. That was very successful. That was my magazine publishing business. All right. I was very fortunate, and I hope that I was very good in giving to a lot of different charities and educational institutes and clubs and scientific things as well. I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just telling you what I did. This woman was also very successful as a decorator. And she was my friend, I thought. But lo and behold, when I came out for Trump, she cut me off. She didn't reach. My first clue was I called her on her birthday because then we lived in separate places too far to see each other all the time. I called her on her birthday. She didn't return my call. I texted her. I sent her emails. I sent her a physical birthday card in the mail. It went on and on and on until I figured out she and her husband didn't want to be friends with us anymore. And what did I do? I didn't cry. I didn't scream and yell, but just a little piece of me hurt. You don't want to do that, discussing politics. How can you have hatred like that guide your life instead of being grateful every morning for the life you have? Because I happen to know these people were better off after Trump came into office than before. Trump is not a god. Trump is a smart man. He's highly intelligent, and he has bursts of energy like nobody I've ever seen before in my life. I could never keep up with him, I'm quite certain. He is amazing. Look what he did in Asia. And then he flies to have a meeting with President Xi of China. And then he's on the airplane coming home. And he's giving a press conference to the guys that are lucky enough to be on the airplane with him. So I'm saying, give a guy or a gal a chance to tell their story. I would love to know why my friend hated Trump so much. And you know what happened? Somebody told me why. Because her friend Marlo Thomas was married to Phil Donahue, who hated Trump. Now, that's a stretch. So, as I say, try not to hate people. Try to hear their story. Well, I heard her story, and we're not friends anymore. And that hurts. I'm sure it doesn't hurt her. But, of course, I've moved on. Listen to something new, like I'm talking about now. Did you ever read any of the books that Trump wrote? You might want to do that, particularly The Art of the Deal. That's what's so amazing to me. And it'll give you a little insight into who the man is and how he dealt with people and why he's so successful. Well, whether you're 70 or 90 or even beyond, your wisdom is a light and the wonder is the light shining. So remember when you're trying to, Juan, I need your help on this again. I don't know what to do. On focus, I guess. I'm sorry, everybody, that my phone keeps dinging. I don't even have it in here and it's turned off. So that's kind of weird. Remember your tone instead of being angry, so angry you're ready to spit at people. Remember that your tone of voice, being calm, can diffuse the anger of the other person. And asking relevant questions in a nice tone of voice can also be helpful. I don't know why people think it's so hard to be respectful when you're talking about politics, but it's gone on for years. I think people should learn how to communicate in a better manner. Maybe think about one of your teachers that was teaching you history or teaching you English, or reading books and all, and what books you read, and if you actually were ever assigned to watch different, well, they didn't have them back in our time. They had the nightly news at 6:00. But see how these different stations dish up their news and what they talk about on the different articles and subjects and bills and other things that are coming up on our ballots. Think what the teachers said. I'm afraid to ask what they teach in high school these days, or if they even teach anything like poli-sci, political science. I'm not sure what is going on with schools anymore, to tell you the truth, and I think that's one of our problems. So we don't want people to become so wrapped up in their own thoughts and these different clubs and all that they have on college campuses and high school campuses. I think people need to question them. And I will say this. I like the revival of Christianity that seems to be coming with Charlie Kirk, and more so since he was assassinated. I'm not sure that I want these people to be joining his following without investigating what they're following. I don't want them to just be in a big crowd and say, Charlie, Charlie, Charlie. It's a tragedy. It's a horrific crime that took his life. And in my heart, I think it's wonderful that he was bringing back Christianity and a political viewpoint that I agree with. But not everybody agrees with him, and I don't want to see anything else happen to anybody else like this. All too often now, if you don't agree with somebody, like the 2 assassination attempts on Trump, this is not a way to discuss politics by killing people, for God's sakes. For God's sakes. So look and see what each one does. Look, and you can go online and find out all about Turning Point and the great things they've done. And I think that's wonderful. You can also go online and learn how Hitler and the Nazis overtook Germany and then great parts of Europe and that continent over there. All right. I think that is going to be about it for trying to tell you to speak kindly to people. I think you should definitely ask everybody in this week coming up and get your ballots in by mail, a ballot drop box by mail, or going to a polling place. There are so many important things on it here in California. As I told you, Proposition 50. And my opinion is vote yes for it. We want redistricting because it's very lopsided, because they did gerrymandering and redistricting way back in the 80s. And that's how, the Democrats made it so lopsided that there's so many more seats that are Democrats in Congress than Republicans. It should be equal, okay? That's how I feel. Now, some Republicans think they should turn it all over and the Republicans should be dominant. I would rather see gerrymandering work with cutting the districts and making it balanced where we have the same number. But I know in my head, in my heart, that that's not going to work, because we need people in Congress that are going to vote for one party or the other's bills and things that they want to put over. So I'm dreaming that the world will be a better place. So think about that. But I definitely also want you to think about New York and what it would mean to have a socialist mayor of the largest economic city in the world and a population that's huge, and somebody who thinks that his auntie could not wear a hijab on the subway or a bus because she was frightened after 9/11. I don't know who would have done that. Most people in New York, and my husband and I were in New York right after 9/11. We were in Europe when that happened, and we got home as soon as we could, and we had to go through New York. I don't know anybody in New York who actually harassed any women, or for that matter, any men who were Muslim. So this man would like to turn the whole state of New York, or the city of New York City, into a Muslim sort of nation. It already is. There's lots of Muslims there, and that's fine. I respect them to have their own religion, whatever they want. But we can't have socialism. We can't have socialism. And for that part, we also can't have communism. So beware what you're voting for on your ballots. Be kind to everyone. Study what you're talking about before you start blasting off and making people angry. Try to resolve your differences. Be kind to each other. Respect each other. And in the meantime, we'll get back to health, wealth, and wise. This was our wise day, our wisdom day. So we'll get back to the health bit next week and what's going on in that with some of the things that JFK Jr., JFK, I'm sorry. Yes, Kennedy, sorry. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., what he's up to and how it will affect you. And also, I want to talk to you next week about LifeWave, the company that I have become involved in. They had their conference last week, and it is remarkable in the health industry and in the direct marketing industry. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to see what else is going on. I couldn't attend the conference, so I have a virtual ticket to it, and I haven't seen the whole thing yet. So that's what I will be talking about next week. And if you want to learn more about LifeWave, the little patches that help you and your stem cells, you can see it here. Look my name up, www.lifewave.com. That's LifeWave.com/Judith Mancini. So thank you for tuning in today. I hope I didn't make anybody angry. I didn't mean to. I want you to have a pleasant life. I want you to be kind to people, and people be kind to you, but study and know what you're talking about before you open your mouth. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today. Thank you.